In today's world, we're no strangers to crises. Major economies, from the United States to China, find themselves in a state of flux. But have you ever paused to ponder why our economy resembles a thrilling roller coaster, capable of sending our jobs, prices, and lives on a wild ride? The answer lies in a guiding force, one that wields tremendous power over these economic ups and downs. That force is none other than our governments. So, in this video, we embark on a journey to unravel how governments shape economic fluctuations. We'll dive deep into the pivotal role governments play in both causing and mitigating economic crises. But before we dive in, be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned. To start with, in the most basic terms, governments have a significant influence on their economies through various policies. One of these is fiscal policy, which involves how the government manages its money through taxation and spending. For example, if the government increases taxes, people have less money to spend, which can slow down economic activity. On the other hand, when the government reduces taxes or spends more money, it can stimulate economic growth. Another way governments impact their economies is through monetary policy. This pertains to how the central bank manages interest rates and the money supply. When the central bank raises interest rates, it makes borrowing money more expensive. This in turn can discourage investment and slow down economic growth. Conversely, when the central bank lowers interest rates, borrowing becomes cheaper, encouraging businesses to invest and driving economic growth. Trade policy is the third key aspect of government influence on the economy. This involves the government's control over trade through measures like tariffs, quotas, and trade restrictions. For instance, when the government imposes tariffs on imported goods, it raises their prices, potentially reducing consumer spending and affecting businesses that rely on imports. However, if the government reduces or eliminates tariffs, it can make imported goods more affordable, boosting consumer spending and supporting businesses that depend on imports. I'll give you more case studies to explain it further. In different economic crises throughout history, governments have played a pivotal role in shaping economic fluctuations and intervening to stabilize their economies. For instance, in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis, the US government took action to stabilize the economy. They initiated programs like the Troubled Asset Relief Program, which injected funds into struggling banks to restore financial stability. Additionally, they introduced the Cash for Clunkers program, designed to boost car sales and provide support to the automotive industry during the economic downturn. The Eurozone debt crisis that began in 2010 also prompted several European governments to provide subsidies and financial aid. Greece, in particular, received multiple bailout packages from entities like the European Union and the International Monetary Fund to prevent a default and stabilize its economy. Quite recently, the COVID-19 pandemic unleashed economic turmoil worldwide. Governments around the globe launched subsidy programs to mitigate the crisis. For instance, the United States introduced the Paycheck Protection Program to offer loans to small businesses for covering payroll costs. They also provided direct stimulus payments to individuals to support household incomes during the pandemic's adverse economic effects. There are three more examples where governments played an important role to weather the economic storm. In the late 90s, several Asian countries, including South Korea, Thailand, and Indonesia, grappled with a severe financial crisis. Governments in these nations sought assistance from the International Monetary Fund and introduced economic stimulus packages. These packages included subsidies aimed at supporting industries adversely affected by the crisis. Likewise, during the Great Depression, the US government implemented a series of subsidies and relief programs as part of President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal. These programs aimed to create jobs, stabilize financial markets, and offer assistance to individuals and industries suffering during the economic crisis. We can also find some examples from oil-producing countries that come in the way when markets behave abnormally. Oil-producing countries frequently respond to plummeting oil prices by offering subsidies to their citizens and industries. For example, during the significant drop in oil prices in 2014-2015, nations like Saudi Arabia and Russia implemented subsidies and financial aid measures to alleviate the economic impact of the price crash. So these are some of the examples of how governments intervene in case of crisis. But sometimes economic fluctuations happen because of governments, and let's explore those instances. In the late 2010 and continuing into the present, Venezuela has faced a severe economic crisis marked by hyperinflation, economic collapse, and widespread poverty. Excessive government intervention and mismanagement played a significant role in this crisis. The Venezuelan government, led by President Nicolas Maduro, imposed strict price controls on essential goods and services, leading to shortages, black markets, and a collapse of the formal economy. Additionally, the government heavily controlled the exchange rate, leading to a huge disparity between the official and black market rates, which encouraged currency speculation and capital flight. These policies, along with a reliance on oil exports and a global drop in oil prices, created a perfect storm that contributed to one of the worst economic crises in modern history. Likewise, in the early 2000s, Zimbabwe experienced hyperinflation. That peaked at an annual rate of over 89.7 sextillion%. Excessive government intervention, including land reforms that disrupted agriculture, seizure of commercial farms, and the printing of money to cover budget deficits, played a significant role in this crisis. The government's actions led to a collapse in agricultural production, widespread food shortages, and a loss of confidence in the currency. As a result, Zimbabwe's economy contracted sharply, and the country experienced severe economic hardship, including hyperinflation, unemployment, and a collapse in essential services. Another prominent example is the Great Depression. While the Great Depression was caused by a number of factors, including the stock market crash of 1929, and overproduction of goods, some economists believe that government policies, such as the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, which raised tariffs on imports, and the Federal Reserve's decision to raise interest rates in 1929, also played a role in making the Depression worse. But you might now be wondering, if too much intervention is bad, then what's the right balance? To address this, let's delve into two fundamental economic philosophies. One school of thought is rooted in free market capitalism, which advocates for minimal government interference in economic activities. This approach believes that markets, when left to operate freely, can efficiently allocate resources and generate wealth for society. It places a high value on individual freedom and property rights. In a pure free market system, governments mainly enforce contracts, protect property rights, and maintain a stable legal framework. On the other hand, the interventionist, or mixed market capitalist school, argues for a more active role for the state in the economy. While it doesn't necessarily endorse complete government ownership or control, it supports various forms of regulation, welfare programs, and public services to ensure economic stability and social equity. However, we believe that the most effective approach lies in finding a balance between free market principles and state intervention. Modern China, for example, has adopted this mixed approach, incorporating elements of both capitalism and communism under the banner of socialism. While China faces its economic challenges, there are multiple factors at play, which we'll explore in a separate video. The key takeaway is that balance is crucial. Excessive government intervention, as seen in Venezuela and Zimbabwe, can lead to crises, while too little intervention can result in severe recessions. Striking the right balance allows us to achieve economic stability